what they're eating or who they're eating, and start challenging habits and assumptions. I grew up eating meat without really thinking about it. My parents were doing it, my brothers and sisters were doing it, everybody was doing it, so I just started doing it. And that's, us human beings are really social animals. We tend to do what those around us do. And sometimes we don't really think very much about it, and that's really one of the reasons I think that we grow up eating animals. And then once we are eating them, and with these issues are raised, there's this disconnect between our natural empathy. We are hardwired to have empathy and to feel bad when we see somebody harmed and suffering. And that's a very important, healthy human quality, is to empathize with others. But when we are involved in an industry and buying meat, milk, and eggs from these horrible factory farms, most people don't feel good about it. And so we raise the issue of factory farming, and oftentimes people say, don't tell me, I don't want to know, because it's upsetting. But it is important for people, I think, to take responsibility for our actions and to ideally make choices that we can feel good about. So instead of saying, don't tell me, be nice to be able to eat food that we know where it comes from and feel good about it. And this is where eating vegan makes all the sense in the world, from just an ethical perspective and just from our own empathic perspective. But our world today here is not all vegan, unfortunatately, and I've been a vegan since 1985. But change happens slow. Change happens slow, and so one of the challenges for vegans is we want to just sort of go out there and say, hey man, go vegan now. And we'd love that to happen, and sometimes it does. But for a lot of the world, it happens incrementally, it happens step by step. And it's important for us, I think, to be understanding that people who have habits of eating animals are probably not going to go vegan overnight, and we need to be supportive of any change in a direction away from the factory farming abuse towards a more compassionate habit that we feel good about. And in addition to making choices that feel good ethically, choosing to eat plants instead of animals, as Jane was saying, is good for us health-wise. If you look at our healthcare costs in this country, about 70% could be saved by shifting to a whole foods plant-based diet. So that's huge. And that's going to be a huge cost. The environment is a whole other thing. It is not in our interest to eat food that makes us sick. It is not in our interest to support a food system that's destroying the planet, which is what we're doing. That's not very rational. And we human beings are supposed to be the rational animals, right? But we're not acting very rationally. And you know what? We're really actually more emotional animals. And that's another very important part, I think, about our movement, is that we need to appeal to people and attract people, as Jane was saying, in a positive way with great vegan food. And I love the idea of tweeting the food you're eating. That's a really good idea, because people really don't know what you eat as a vegan. And people also are genuinely worried about getting their protein, which is kind of, for people who've been vegan a long time, it's easy to get protein. There's tofu, beans, nuts. There's protein even in broccoli and vegetables and grains. So there's protein everywhere. But for people who have never, thought very much about these issues, they've been bombarded by these messages that you need to get protein from meat. So they really do genuinely wonder if they can get their protein. And we need to honestly, to accept that they need to just learn that, there is protein in a lot of things. And so the idea that we need meat for protein is a myth. The idea that we need to drink cow's milk for calcium is another of these myths. Oftentimes people say they need, and the dairy industry is quick to say this, you need calcium to prevent osteoporosis, and you need to get it from the cow's milk. This is one of these assumptions people believe. But in our country, we drink a lot of cow's milk, and we get a lot of osteoporosis. So drinking cow's milk clearly is not the solution to that problem. And so I've been a vegan now since 1985, and lately I've been trying to do things to demonstrate that vegans can do things athletically. So I ran my first marathon in DC. And I'm going to be running a couple more marathons, and a friend of mine here, Martin, is running the New York City Marathon to raise funds for Farm Sanctuary. It's CrowdRise, and his name's Martin Rowe, R-O-W-E, if you go to CrowdRise, or you can talk to him, but he's raising funds for Farm Sanctuary. So anyway, but so these vegan athletes out here now that are demonstrating that we can perform at a decent level. And there's also, I don't know if you guys know of Arian Foster. He's this NFL running back who's a vegan. He's one of the top running backs in the NFL. There's these elite athletes now. And in addition, you have folks like Bill Clinton, who's doing a lot better now eating a plant-based diet. Ellen DeGeneres, who speaks out about these issues. So we have all kinds of great folks. And Jane on her show, the work she does is amazing. So if you've ever seen her show, she's always getting animal issues there. So Jane is a huge voice for animals and for our movement. We're all in this together, so, and we're all in this together. That's the bottom line. As Jane was saying, reach out to the media, but also use your own Facebook pages. Take a lot of pictures here today and get those out on Facebook. Talk to people about what you're doing. And tweet the food you eat too. That's great. The more people start thinking about these issues, the better. But we also want to, we need to show factory farming images. People need to see the bad stuff. But we also need to give people hope and show them the good stuff and attract them to good vegan food, attract them to, positive experiences in this vegan community. And that's another very important thing that happens at Farm Sanctuary, and why I encourage everybody to come visit us at Farm Sanctuary and get to know the animals and get to be immersed in a place where vegan is normal. And we're seeing change like never before right now. The number of animals being killed in the United States for food has actually started going down. Massive. More awareness than ever before. And it's because of everybody who is here, who is talking about these issues and being an example, because people learn from those around them. As I said, I grew up eating meat because everybody around me was eating meat. But for each of us who are not eating meat, when we go out and hang out with others, they see that we're not eating meat and they start learning, oh gosh, what are they eating? And one of the things that's kind of funny is that when you first become vegan, a lot of times people kind of make fun of you and say that food looks silly or whatever. But then, you go to a potluck with a great vegan meal, and that's the first thing everybody eats. Yep. I was at a hotel not too long ago, and I asked for soy milk for the coffee down in the lobby. And after a couple of days, they finally started putting it out there. And then it was gone. It was the first thing that went. They had like 5 canisters of different kinds of cow's milk, like skim milk and low fat and whole milk and all this, and one thing of soy milk, and it was gone. So just making it available, people start buying this stuff. So there's a big shift that's happening now. It's important to be advocate consumers, to purchase in a way that is aligned with our values and interests, to not be buying animal foods, especially not be buying factory farm foods. Reach out to restaurants and order vegan food there. And you can get, even like at a Denny's or something like that, they can just do they can fry potatoes with veggies. You can even coach them on, you can go in there and say, do you guys have anything vegan? And they say, no. And they say, well, do you got potatoes? Yeah. Do you got spinach? Do you have these veggies? How about we put those together? So being sort of giving suggestions, because sometimes in these restaurants, people just don't even think about it. So a big part of our job is really getting people to think, providing suggestions, and being a positive example for others. So, it's a huge honor to be here with you all. I feel very lucky to do this work, to work on something that is so meaningful for animals, for the earth, and for ourselves. How we treat other animals says a lot about who we are. And it's a joy to be in this movement with all of you. So thank you all so very much.